When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hi guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future videos and future updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. If you want to get access to any of my early content, check out the Discord. I just want to relay some quick information before we move forward. Now, as you know, this is a Marvel fanfiction, so I'm not using any well-known in this. This is my own custom world, so there's going to be some changes in certain characters. Of course, we're nowhere near that point when I'm going to introduce these different Marvel characters. I won't reveal any information because it's far too early in the series to do so. So let's get right into this. We're going to continue where we last left off in our story. Once Echo walked out of the shadow and found himself back into the library, Echo immediately went back to reading. He continued where he last left off, with introductions into blood magic. As he sat down on one of the comfy chairs, as he begins to read, or continues reading off, blood magic is far more complex than I originally thought. Even if I understood blood magic thoroughly, that wouldn't help me. This book did mention I would need to know how to channel my magic and awaken my magical power. Only problem is, it doesn't specify how I can go about that. I believe this book would be most useful as someone hand Echo a magical tome that entails many methods to channel and awaken someone's magical potential. Echo took the book without thinking, just realizing he wasn't alone. How did she get so close? I didn't even sense her. She could have killed me, and she could have killed me easily. I would have never been the wiser. Yuri definitely knows what his train of thought is. She found it amusing and quite humorous. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Yuri. As Yuri gave him a polite bow, doing a little curtsy. I've been assigned to be your personal maid, young master. Lady Victoria is quite a busy woman, so Lady Victoria assigned me as your maid. I'm more than capable of performing this task. Yuri walked over to the hidden blood supply that is usually stored in the library for long study sessions that she placed in the past when she was tutoring Victoria when she was just a girl. As she took a glass and began to pour blood for Echo, as she slowly pours it and slid it over to him. Drink, young master. Thanks. No problem, young master. Drink up. Research like this takes a lot out of even a vampire. Echo can tell by that kind and gentle smile Just past the surface, there's a vicious monster waiting to be ready to be unleashed. Even if he wanted to escape, there's no chance of that now. There's no way he can escape. Echo's not stupid. He could clearly sense her crazy killer aura that's coded with some positive aura, masking her murder intent. Very well, it seems I have been outplayed here. I have no complaints. Lady Victoria said you were a smart one. As she gave Echo a fake smile. Now, I suggest you get back to it. If you want to learn more, that book in your hand will have your answers. And I'm quite knowledgeable about the subject, so if you need any pointers, just ask. I'm at your complete disposal, young master. Noted as Echo went into reading about awakening and channeling his magic. Meanwhile, Victor, Blade, and Whistler is standing in the middle of the road, facing 3 vampires. How generous of you naughty children to come seek me out. After all, your fate will have been a whole lot worse if I had to track you down. Where's the rest of your little friends? I don't want to hear it, bitch. We're tired of this. Not be able to hunt when you want to? Enough. You're weak. I think it's about time you get replaced. Weak, am I? Replace me, you say? How utterly adorable. Just a reminder, Victoria, we need them alive. Don't worry, Blade dear. I don't plan to kill all of them. Just most of them. The one with the smart mouth. You're the lucky one. You get to live for a bit longer, as she pointed at the vampire that was talking shit. Then Victoria dashed forward, as Victoria suddenly appeared right above one of the vampires. Appeared right behind one of the vampires. As she stand back to back to the vampire that was talking trash, as his 2 fellow vampires' heads roll off their bodies, as their bodies and severed head drop to the ground. Last remaining vampire spin around to throw a punch, only for Victoria to easily catch his fist and apply pressure, forcing the vampire to kneel on one knee. There you go. That's your proper place, little pet. As she mockingly pat him on the head with her free hand. Now, you're going to tell me everything. What you boys are plotting, or things around here is going to get very unpleasant for you. Go fuck yourself, whore. What a vile mouth you have. As Victoria backhand the vampire across the face, creating wind pressure. The moment the back of her hand made contact across his face, he would have been sent flying if it wasn't for Victoria grasping onto his fist, keeping him in place. What a foul mouth you have. As she repeatedly to backhand him over and over again. You poor, delusional fool. Just because I don't go around causing mass chaos anymore, that means I've lost my edge, that I've gone soft. You're sadly mistaken, you pitiful fool. The old ways are outdated. You either evolve with the times, or be crushed. As she tightened the grip on his fist, making the vampire grit his teeth from the pain he's feeling. Good thing you have a high tolerance, because I have a feeling you're going to need it. I do apologize, Blade, Whistler, but I think things are going to get a little bit messy. He's quite defiant. As Victoria starts to torture him viciously, but keeping him alive, Victoria is known because of her reputation of torturing other vampires that don't follow her direct orders. As blood spikes begin to shoot out of the vampire's body, ripping through the skin, she would weaponize what blood remains in his body by turning it into blood spikes, piercing through his body. Then she would allow him to recover, regenerate, and do it all over again. She would do this over again and over again, continuing her fun, literally weaponizing his own blood. Even Blade and Whistler was a bit disturbed, but it needed to be done. It didn't take long for Victoria to get him the crack. You going to behave and tell me who your leader is? You crazy bitch. As she continued to torture, as he finally gave in. Is Victor Rosefield. Just end it. After hearing that name, that she didn't want to hear ever, her demeanor completely changed. Her smile faded to a cold, calculated expression as she lifted him up by the face and crushed his skull in the palm of her hand. Victor, how did that bastard survive? Know this Victor? Of course I know him. I know him quite well. He's my brother, and he's a filthy traitor. According to what we got from that smart mouth, they have several locations in my territory. There's no doubt about it. Victor is working with Manifesto. Don't know how. They met each other, but it doesn't matter. I'll take one of the locations. What about you? Me and Whistler will take one of the locations, then we'll meet up back here and finish off the last one. Victoria is very aware that Whistler is definitely getting out there in age. Maybe in his younger days, he would have been able to take out a whole building filled with vampires, but not so much nowadays. That doesn't make him weak, on the contrary. He's still a threat. And Victoria is very aware of that, so she had no complaints. Meanwhile, Echo, Yuri, left the library after Echo decided to start to try to awaken his magical power by using a magical tool called a magic orb. Short pause in the story. I'm not sure how all magic work in the Marvel Universe, or methods to activate their magic methods, so I'm just creating my own. Alright, now let's get right back into the story. So are you sure you have magic orbs here? We should have several, actually. I believe I saw them in the storage room. I only use blood magic, but that doesn't mean we can't go about awakening our magic through the normal ways. Yuri unlocked one of the storage rooms on the lowest floor of the manor. As they immediately see large crates filled with magical artifacts stored away, scattered all around the room. Best not to touch anything. Some of this stuff is quite dangerous. I would hate to found you blow yourself up. Echo had no intention of blowing himself up anytime soon, so he chose to heed her warning and not directly touch anything outside of the magic orbs. As they begin to search through crate after crate until they found the stockpile of magical orbs. I'm quite surprised in their size. They're not that big. They're big enough to fit in the palm of my hand. Can be expected. Magic orbs are not all the same size. Now that we have one, it's best we take one and take this out to the courtyard. Please, follow me, young master. As Echo followed his personal maid, Echo in her thoughts, there's no way this Yuri is just a average maid. The type of power I could sense from her, there's nothing average about her. She's dangerous. The courtyard was a large outside area. In the boundaries of the manor itself, it's a wide area with a small forest nearby. The manor itself was built around this forest that contains a waterfall. Sit, young master. Echo proceeded to do so as he replaced the magical orb in his palm. All you have to do is clear your mind and concentrate. Don't be discouraged if you don't succeed on the very first try. While Echo was trying to awaken his sleeping magic power with the help of his personal maid Yuri, Victoria was on her way to their first location, while Blade and Whistler took the other. Excuse me. As Victoria is flying from rooftop to rooftop, Victoria held her progress and stood on top of the edge of the building. As she focused her vampiric senses and located several vampires in an old abandoned museum. Found you. As Victoria has a vicious grin on her face, Victoria used her vampire speed to flicker out of existence. When she became visible again, she immediately killed the two vampires that are guarding the main door to the abandoned museum by chopping off their head with a blood sword that she made using her own blood. Victoria kicked the main door down. Victoria is clearly not bothering using stealth. That immediately got the vampires' attention in the lobby of the museum. All the vampires in the lobby immediately opened fire using UV ray bullets. While the UV ray bullets were flying towards Victoria's location, Victoria stood there calmly and got into a fighting stance and ricocheted the bullets with her sword. Dance of the Reaper. Rosefield sword art. Dance of the Reaper. As she flickered out of existence and began to teleport around the lobby, decapitating vampire after vampire. The poor fools had no chance, no matter what they did, no matter what gun they used, no matter what blood magic they cast, no matter what weapon they wield. It was completely useless. She slaughtered them, massacring them, everyone in the lobby. It only took a couple seconds as Victoria ended her sword art technique, as she can be seen standing in the middle of the lobby where all the vampires are scattered all around with their heads chopped off. Victoria begins to absorb all the blood from her fallen foes into herself, absorbing, making her more stronger and faster and more powerful. That's what makes Victoria such a monstrous opponent. Each battle she goes into, the more blood she absorbs makes her stronger, a more deadly opponent. Victoria ventured further into the museum. After walking out of the lobby area, she found herself in a dinosaur exhibit. Victoria immediately noticed several vampires on top of the prehistoric skeletons, and she saw a group of them on the head of a T-Rex. As a singular female vampire stood out from the rest, as there was also some vampires on a pterodactyl that's connected to the ceiling of the dinosaur exhibit. Unknown female vampire only displayed a simple gesture with a wave of her hand as all of the vampires begin to rain down upon Victoria, while she stands on top of the T-Rex, with her hands behind her back, observing. Victoria easily evaded the first initial attack from above, as she found herself dodging several sword slashes that are being swung at her direction. They were moving too slow. They were moving so slow, they might as well not have been attacking in the first place. Their attacks were very predictable. It's clearly evident these vampires lack experience. She didn't expect much from these low class vampires. These vampires are clearly were churned. In other means, they were once human, the bottom of the food chain, in the vampire society. So it's quite obvious why she's outclassing them. A pureblood fighting against young, inexperienced turned vampires. Their match wasn't even close. When Victoria finally attacked, it was brutal, precise, and lethal. She instantly cut one of the vampire's head from their body. Then she immediately grabbed the other vampire by the face and threw him across the large room, hitting several other dinosaur skeletons, eventually flying right through them and landing into the wall hard. Before anyone could do anything else, Victoria appeared, standing above him, and simply slammed her foot into a powerful kick. The moment Victoria's kick landed on the side of the vampire's face, his entire head was obliterated alongside the majority of his upper torso, as what's left of the vampire's body fell to the ground dead. That's when the other vampires resumed their attack at Victoria. The other vampire ran in vampire speed toward Victoria with their own blood spears in their hands, lunging towards Victoria. Victoria kicked the first spear that was thrusted in her direction. Then immediately afterwards, she used a palm uppercut to hit the other blood spear with a powerful to the side, as she landed a powerful fist into the vampire's stomach, sending him skidding backwards like a rag doll as the vampire body begins to bounce and roll around off of the ground. Victoria did not pause in her attack. She easily killed the remaining vampire by either chopping off their heads or ripping out their heart. When the unknown female vampire finally acted as she jumped from the skull of the T-Rex and landed gracefully on her feet across from Victoria. Father said you were good. I see he wasn't exaggerating. I could tell you're pureblood. Who are you? I know most purebloods, and I don't recognize you one bit. Oh, where's my manners? I am Bella Rosefield, daughter of Victor Rosefield. Oh, and before I forget, he sends his regards. Sadly, my father couldn't meet you at this time. He's on his way to get what's rightfully his. At that little manor of yours. Out there in that wilderness you've been hiding. I see. I'm going to have to make this fast then. I don't know how your father survived. If indeed you are his daughter, that is to be remain to be seen. But I won't make the same mistake twice. I'll make sure he stays dead next time. Sorry, Auntie, but I can't allow that to happen. As Bella instantly appeared, little above Victoria, and swung her shadow sword and blood sword right at Victoria, as Bella is clearly dual wielding two swords in her hands. The blood sword in her right hand, and her shadow sword in her left. As Victoria was forced to block each time the two blades of her opponent came towards her direction. Victoria was surprised that she has the ability of shadow manipulation. Outside of Victor and Echo, those are the only known vampires she knows of that has that ability. Given that this young vampire that has the same ability as her brother increases the chances that this Bella is telling the truth. But she put all that useless information to the side and concentrated and continue her fight with her niece. As their blades constantly collide, making sparks. Meanwhile, back at the manor, Eka has finally activated his magic. It was quite impressive amount of pressure was released the moment he unlocked his magic. But he eventually got it under control. Yuri could comment on his success. She immediately felt a presence as Yuri stand in front of Echo in a protective manner. As a black katana materialized in Yuri's hand. Sensing the immediate danger that he's in, he slowly sunk into a shadow. Quite some time since we've seen each other, Yuri. You should have stayed hidden while you had the chance. You wound me, Yuri, as Victor placed his hand over his heart in a mocking manner. I'll definitely wound you, alright, boy. In all seriousness, you know why I'm here. If you're after the location of the scroll, of the forbidden techniques of the Rosefield family, sadly, you're going to be disappointed. Don't do this, Yuri. At one time, I saw you as a mother. You killed your mother. That woman wasn't my mother. Not my true mother, in my eyes. That's why it was quite easy to strike her down alongside with a bastard of a father of mine. They were weak. They were holding me back. They refused to give what's rightfully mine. As the firstborn. Not my sister. But they always favored her over me. You're such a disappointment, Victor. That's your opinion, Yuri. Your opinion no longer matters to me. Give me the tablets, or else. Don't make me kill you, Yuri. I will get what's rightfully mine, one way or another. Yuri remained quiet as she immediately began to shooting off exploding fire spears directly at Victor. She's the only one of her kind. That one of her vampire abilities was fire manipulation. Victor seen his attack several times, so he knew exactly what to do, as he created a shadow dome to protect himself. As the exploding fire spear hit the shadow dome, absorbing the powerful explosion, Yuri appeared instantly as she unleashed her last fire spear, and then she proceeded to kick the dome down, surprising Victor as he immediately dodged a powerful punch from Yuri by leaping backwards, smashing right into the remainder of at least what remained of his shadow dome. Immediately got some much needed distance. Victor immediately created a shadow sword without using any outside shadow to form his weapon. He's long past the time where he has to use outside shadow to mold his weapon. He can directly channel the shadows from his shadow dimension that all vampires have. Who have shadow manipulation as one of their powers. It's a very rare power to inherit, but he was very fortunate that his daughter Bella inherited her own shadow manipulation. The two vampires immediately locked blades, trying to overpower each other, as there were sparks being made from their weapons continuously to grind against each other with incredible force. Victor broke their deadlock, moving her sword to the side and created a shadow gauntlet over his free hand, and slammed his fist towards her chest, forcing Yuri to block the strike with the flat end of her sword, sending her skidding backwards. Yuri slammed her sword into the ground, stopping her momentum. By now, like I said, Echo is in his shadows, so he's out of danger. He's just keeping an eye on the battle. He knows he's not strong enough to get involved. He would just be a hindrance at this time. You're sharp as ever, Yuri. After all this time, you're as powerful as you always been. I've been on this planet long before you, boy. I have served the Rosefield family since the beginning. You're powerful, I'll give you that. But you have much to learn. We'll see about that. As Victor and Yuri said the same thing at the same time. Rosefield, sword art, the dance of the Reaper, as they both seemingly flicker out of existence, as they both reappeared in the middle of the air, as their blades are in a lock, grinding against each other, as they flicker once again. Each time they're able to be seen, they're continuously deadlocking in a blade struggle, as they start to make wind pressure from each time they clash. Yuri canceled both of their sword art by reflecting one of Victor's attempts to slash her, then immediately slamming her foot into his stomach, forcing Victor to hit the ground hard. Victor got up and dusted himself off as he's breathing heavy. Yuri flickered a little bit away. Did you forget I was the one who taught you and your sister how to use your family sword techniques? Of course I know how many of your Rosefield techniques work. Before I was a maid, I was once known as the Death Knight. But that was a long, long before your time, boy. Victor charged forward, trying to get a solid hit. Each time he swung his sword, Yuri would block with her sword. No matter what direction he attacked in, Yuri easily blocked his attack. Victor surprised Yuri by creating and shooting out different types of shadow weapons out of the nearby shadow, forcing Yuri to go on the defensive. That's when Victor struck and charged forward as he slammed his shadow gauntlet into her stomach as he landed a powerful gut uppercut with his shadow gauntlet, making Yuri go slightly airborne. Well, she's basically airborne by now. As Victor immediately used another sword art, Rosefield sword art, Crow's Paradise, as Victor begins to swing his sword towards Yuri's direction repeatedly, as he began to shoot out red energy slashes that shot towards Yuri, making contact several times, as he kept swinging his sword repeatedly, unleashing more energy slashes after energy slashes. Before any significant serious damage could be done or inflicted on her, she easily activated a blood shield that absorbed majority of the attack. As Yuri begins to reflect the majority of them with her sword, as she gratefully lands on her feet, with her black katana still in her hand, blood shield in the other. As Victor could see, Yuri's maid uniform has rips and tears from his last assault, but she wasn't that seriously hurt. Just a few cuts around her body. Nothing too serious, as she immediately got into a fighting stance with her sword and shield. You can't win this, boy. You can never defeat me. Back then and now, nothing has changed. You're still arrogant, thinking just because you're the firstborn, you're worthy. That's why your parents never gave you those techniques or allow you to use them to learn, because you were unworthy. At the museum, the battle between Victoria and Bella is still raging on, as they're clashing with each other, fast, as they can't be seen by the human eye, or they clearly can't be kept track of. As they're moving so fast, they seem to be not there, as slash marks begin to appear all over the museum, damaging the walls, the floor, and the ceiling, and some of the skeletons. That would make any speedster jealous. As Victoria took a uppercut, Victoria took the upper hand and slammed her knee into Bella's stomach, then immediately palm thrust in the middle of her chest, sending Bella skidding across the ground as Bella slammed both of her swords into the ground itself, stopping her momentum. The moment she stopped her momentum, she went into a sideward spin, then immediately leaped forward, right back towards Victoria. And as Bella attempted to do a overhanded slash, then with her other sword, she performed and unleashed a upper-handed slash. Victoria managed to block the first initial sword strike, but the second one, she barely dodged out of the way, as she has a slight cut on the side of her face that immediately healed and closed up afterwards. Nice, not bad, niece, but you're gonna have to do a lot better than that. Shut up and die. As she threw her shadow sword, that immediately separated and churned into several dozens of shadow daggers in mid-flight. And that's where we're going to stop it. I'll catch you guys in the next part.